Everyone, I'm Jessica with our client service team, and we're so excited to be here with you today. During today's conversation, we definitely want to hear from you. Please use the question box feature in your control panel to let us know if you have any questions. We'll answer those at the end of the session. You'll also have a chance to request additional information at the end of the discussion. If you're with us today via recording, there will be an opportunity at the end of the video to request more information. So without further ado, I'd like to pass the mic over to my colleague, Holland Meyer, to introduce herself and today's guest. Holland?
Thanks, Jessica. Hi, everyone. So super excited to be here today to talk through how Illinois College engages unresponsive admits and addresses financial aid appeals with LRAPs. So we'll start with some introductions. As she said, my name is Holland Meyer. I am Director of Client Service here at Ardeo Education Solutions, and I get the wonderful benefit and pleasure of working with clients like Evan at Illinois College and others to help them implement LRAPs, our loan repayment assistance programs, onto their campuses. I also have the unique position of being a former client myself. So for 10 years, I worked at a small private university in Kentucky, where I was able to give LRAPs to students. And I thought I'd never leave. I loved it. And when Ardeo called, I thought, you know, if I can help more students across the nation have better access to colleges and universities, why not? And I've loved every minute. So that's a little bit about me. I will let Evan introduce himself. Take it away, Evan.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar today. Like Holland said, my name is Evan Wilson. I'm Associate Vice President of Enrollment Management at Illinois College, located in scenic Jacksonville, Illinois. And thrilled to be with you all today. I've been in enrollment on the undergrad and professional school side of things for going on 23 years now. I've been with Illinois College, back with Illinois College for a second tour here since 2014. So on my 10th year back at IC as director and now as the AVP, oversee enrollment, which means admissions, financial aid, and student accounts here at the college. So thrilled to be joining you, Holland. Good to be able to spend this time with you as well.
Thanks, Evan. All right, so our why. We want to just give a little introduction to why do we exist in the first place here at Ardeo, and we exist to increase access to higher education by removing the fear of student debt. What do? We help colleges and universities enroll more students and grow net tuition revenue. How do we do that? You're gonna hear a lot about that today, but our loan repayment assistance programs, what we will refer to them probably from here on out is LRAPs, impact the enrollment decisions of students who would otherwise not enroll out of fear of student debt. We've worked with over 200 colleges and universities throughout the US now. We've covered over 32,000 students, and while we did not invent the LRAP. The model did begin at Yale Law School. We like to joke that we did perfect it. So we are one of the few, if not only, companies that do this on the undergrad side and be able to help work with your students. So it's really a unique situation, a unique offering. So what is an LRAP and how does it actually work? It's an enrollment tool. That's the first thing we'll always say. This is really to help your enrollment side, and it positively impacts enrollment and persistence decisions. It's a promise. If the student's income after graduation is modest, their LRAP will help them repay their loans, including federal student, Parent Plus, and private alternative. We want to cover all the things that your financial aid office is certifying. So it's a promise you get to make to your students for that. Now, how does it actually work for colleges? We'll do a little brief overview here, but it's usually overseen by admissions and financial aid offices. And the first step is the college chooses students to award an LRAP to at no cost to the student or the family. And the colleges have complete choice and freedom. It's a very flexible tool. I'm sure Evan will go into that a little bit with us too. But there's 3 buckets of students that we allow colleges to offer to. And the first one here you'll see is the new enrollment freshman first year students. Almost all of our clients are doing that as a base bucket, right? And then you can add additional ones onto that. Transfer readmit's another type. We just say they have to have at least 2 years remaining, basically have not started the first semester of their junior term. Also retention. If you have a student sitting in your financial aid or student accounts office that maybe didn't have to borrow first year and does second year and is now terrified and wants to leave, you can utilize an LRAP to save that student. We all know that getting a student to stay is a lot cheaper than recruiting a brand new student. So we allow LRAPs to be used in a very flexible manner for you guys. We also train and support colleges throughout the year. So when we're able to, we get to come to campus and do an in-person training. We'll do that with your entire enrollment staff. So if financial aid, admissions, we'll even do coaches, whatever it is that you guys want, whatever department you want there, we can do that. And then this last bullet on here is probably my favorite as a prior client, and it's just one little bullet, but it's so impactful, is that we actually provide all of the communication support. So while you guys will be making the initial LRAP offer and get to talk about the promise and the overview, we do the heavy lifting. And so we are actually, many of our clients say, an extension of their admissions team. We're doing a huge communications LRAP comm flow to prospects. We're educating the students and the families via email, phone, and mailings. We are the experts. We are the ones that are taking that heavy load for you guys, and I absolutely love that enrollment benefit that can actually help. So lastly, how do LRAPs work for your actual students? And Evan, I'm sure you can attest to this, but the number one thing we hear from families and students is, this has got to be too good to be true. What is happening? And it's great for college to be like, nope, it's real. And we always say we're a hand up, not a hand out. And so there are things that they have to do, right, to get this award. And parents love these, and the schools love it too. But the first one is the students graduate. Obviously, the parents love that. The schools love that. They must graduate from your college. It's not transferable or anything in that way. They must work an average of 30+ hours a week. Now, we're super nice. We give 18 months for them to find a job. They can be 3 part-time jobs. We don't care as long as they are working. Work leads to more work, as long as they're not sitting on their parents' couch doing nothing. And they must earn less than the upper income threshold. That's why we say if your income is modest, every school will have a different upper income threshold. So obviously, if they're making bank, then they can take us to dinner. They don't need us. No, I'm just kidding. We don't do that. But the last part is making those loan payments. They will actually make those payments, and then you'll see that second part here as we administer the assistance process. We'll pay directly to the students and the parents. And then obviously, we will continue their loans until their loans are repaid entirely or until they earn more than the upper income threshold. So we are there to help them in those stages when they need us. So next, I'll kick it over to Evan here a little bit. First, tell us some fast facts. Tell us a little bit about Illinois College. What are you known for? And what are some of your notable and interesting facts?
Okay, thanks, Holland. So yeah, so Illinois College is known, I would say, particularly in the region, as sort of being the first. So we're the first college in the state of Illinois to hold classes and graduate students with bachelor's degrees. In fact, the class that we'll recruit for fall of 2025 will be our bicentennial class. And so you start to see some of that 200-year history coming out in our, materials and things over the next year or two. So we're really excited about that. And beyond that, we're really known for a high quality liberal arts education. We're a small institution, and so obviously there's a lot of high touch practices being used, but we are known for being able to have students shine in ways that maybe overcomes some deficits that they might have had in high school, and taking tremendous students, helping them realize their potential. Those students, through academic coaching, every student who comes to campus gets an academic coach, and then we guarantee that they have access to at least one opportunity to do something like internship, research alongside a professor, study abroad, or something like that. So we really believe in the sort of experiential piece of Illinois college education. So yeah, good preparation for the professions, but we also started a nursing program a few years ago, and that's really been taking off with local partnerships with a local health system. And so just really excited about the growth that we've been seeing and the different things that are going on our campus. So excited to be here. I'm also an alum of Illinois College, so sort of true blue all the way.
Love it, love it. All right, so let's dive into some of your LRAP strategy. When did you first hear about LRAPs?
Yeah, so like I said, I started back here at IC in 2014, and at that time we were undergoing a new strategic plan, which included a strategic enrollment plan with a new president, and we were looking for a number of different strategies and things. And I think it was probably 2016 when I first started to see LRAP on the marketing to the director side of things, as a tool to be used. And much like many of the parents that we encounter in this, it seemed a little too good to be true. It's like, yeah, right. How are you capturing late cycle enrollments, using this tool? So, sort of kicked the tires on it a couple of times and didn't go with it initially. And it was really, I think, 2018, or that class that enrolled in 2018, that we really started to utilize it. And so that's, kind of the genesis of our use of it, but we've been using it on a consistent basis. We've dabbled in a number of different strategies throughout that time, but I've been a client of Ardeo and using LRAPs for since about 2018.
Wonderful. So then what were the driving factors that made you all decide to actually use the program when you had that kind of shift in 2016 to 2018?
Yeah. Well, I think there are a couple things. One is, obviously kind of shoring up the class, in an age where, enrollments are declining across the board, wherein, there are fewer students in the pipelines. How can we keep students interested? How can we re-engage students who might not have thought that Illinois College was an option, because we're a private institution? Didn't mention that at the top, but we are a private institution. And so, there's a lot of, fear about price out there. And so many times we have conversations with family that sort of pits value and price. And what I really liked about LRAP is that it kind of combines those two conversations, right? Because there's a financial component to it that speaks to the investment that they're making, in an Illinois college education. And it also provides us with a tool to reinforce the value of Illinois College's programs, right? This is in an ideal situation, this is something that the student isn't ever going to use, right? Because we've prepared them so well that after graduation that they're going to be gainfully employed. Nobody's sitting on a parent's couch unless, that's where they wanted to live, I suppose, but, that they are, gainfully employed. And, particularly for a liberal arts college where there's a lot of noise about, the value of what a liberal arts education can do. And we know that research shows that early career earnings for liberal arts majors can be lower than professional program students. But over time, over the course of a career, liberal arts majors almost always out-earn some of those professional programs. So it helps to bring in the conversation about value, but still address the price concerns. Because when it comes to a population that might be averse to loans, again, there's some media noise you might have heard about student debt. This is a way for us to provide a little bit of skin in the game as a testament to what we do as an institution and the success that we believe that they'll see on our campus, as well as addressing some of these fears about student debt, cost, and all of that. So that was really sort of the main thing for us in terms of a tipping point. And, obviously quite frankly, a tool to, round out the class, make sure we're hitting our goals. And then, as the bullet point here says, sort of a tipping point for students in their decisions.
Wonderful, perfectly said, thank you. So going into current age, or this past year that we just completed, tell us a little bit about your enrollment strategy for the 23-24 cohort entering class.
Yeah, well, I mentioned tipping, and we kind of refer to it as tipping and shaping. So tipping students, off the fence about making a decision about Illinois College, or tipping them back into the mix, when they may have, kind of gone cold on us in the past, or shaping a population of the pool that we're hoping to boost, right? Maybe it's our, students in our backyard, or in a particular geographic region, or a particular major, or things of that sort. So really, tipping and shaping has really been, kind of the overarching strategy all along. But we've been using a cold admit strategy. So real quick, what we defined as a cold admit is somebody who's been admitted to Illinois College, but for a period of time, and that period of time has evolved over the years, but I'd say about 6 weeks or so, has not been active and engaged with opening emails from Illinois College, hasn't had any kind of direct interaction with a member of the admissions team. They've not been active on our website as best we can tell. So really not doing the kinds of things that we know active engaged students do to move themselves closer to making decisions. So cold admit is trying to re-engage them to get back into the game, to continue or restart the conversation about who we are. So that has always been part of the strategy, and we employed that in 23-24 to great effect. I would say one of the things that was different about last year's cold admit strategy is we started it earlier. Sometimes we wait until mid to late spring to kind of, get, like I said, shore up some things. But through Holland and their colleagues' advice, and sort of like they always see a better result when you start earlier in the process, and it makes a lot of sense. So last year we started with our first cold admits in January, and we saw that those students responded at much higher rates than students who got the offer in April or May, or even a few that were in June. We also use it in financial aid appeals when a student is asked for additional money. I'm sure everybody on their campus has pressure about discount rates and these kinds of things, and adding additional funding, direct funding to the student may not be an option. And so what we're really doing is trying to listen to what are they saying about what they need, and have we provided them with a fair offer, and is there a reticence about this debt portion, or what can we do to make a commitment to them that doesn't just add additional money to their package when that maybe isn't an option, and the appeal has worked to great effect. We generally see that when an LRAP is offered on an appeal, that student is ready to make the decision, and when we offer an LRAP, it's usually successful. The other thing that I think was particularly different last year is we started mixing in transfer students, and this was something that hasn't always been available, going back to at least I didn't think it was, going back to 2018. Using transfer students wasn't always something that we did or maybe had the ability to do. And so we started working cold admits for transfers into the mix as well. Again, starting kind of early spring and then throughout the summer. And what we found was that about half of our students that took us up on the offer were in that transfer category, and it really did make a difference for us. We had what was a near record transfer class in this last year in the fall 23, and and much of that I would attribute to this tipping factor that the LRAP enabled us to leverage.
That's amazing. That's so exciting to hear. So do you have any fun anecdotes or student or parent conversations when they were offered, like a real life example of they were offered an LRAP, and how did your students respond in those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I think the common anecdote or the anecdote is, I wish I had an antidote for the anecdote. The common thing, it really is the sort of what's the catch, right? I think we're so used to seeing like these too good to be true offers coming into our inbox. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with parents about, no, this is a real thing. And we can do this because we honestly don't think that, well, first of all, we believe in what we do as an institution. And then first and foremost, you're going to be successful, and we want to invest alongside you. But the goal here is not for you to be able to use this, right? And not because we don't want you to, because we're offering you a service that you're not going to leverage, but because we need you to understand that this is worth it, and so much so that we're going to offer you some assurance on the back end. So I can't tell you. It could be a little bit. Ardeo's done a fantastic job of explaining, how these work. Tremendous communication tools, and even when we have conversations between our admission counselors and families, even still there can be like probing, like, yeah, but, or what's the catch, right? So sometimes these things will bubble up to me, and I'll really just be like, no, really, this is a real thing. And sometimes I'll even be like, this is what it costs me on my end, right? Just as a transparency side, and I'll say, and we're taking care of this for you. with the knowledge that you're going to graduate successful from Illinois College and maybe never use it. But if something happens, you're covered. So I think having a good answer for what's the catch, I think is a key, is an important factor, right, as you're training your staff. But the Ardeo team has done a fantastic job of getting materials to our team and providing resources and support for the families as they get those offers.
Oh, I love that answer. Thanks, Evan. That's awesome. So speaking of, you had some wonderful success. Let's talk about that success. You crushed it. Can you walk us through your results for the fall of 2023 here?
Yeah, so we had 26 students who enrolled who had an LRAP offer. So I don't know what institutions you all are coming from and what looks like a needle mover for you, but 26 is not an insignificant number for us, in particular when you're talking about transfers. Having a dozen or so of those students being transfer students is the difference between at least on the transfer side, it's sort of making the class and not, or in our case, exceeding the transfer goal. Versus being right at the goal or maybe coming in a couple of short. So we were really excited about that. What we found was that we had some early adoption as those spring offers came out, and then so early adoption in both accepting the offer and then some early deposits that were gained once students sort of re-engaged with us. We were able to get them financial aid offers last year in a reasonable time. Sorry, I got to make that joke. That transfer market really started to move for us in March, and really a transformative sort of thing for us. There obviously are some with that net tuition benefits that come with that, and I think that's one of the things I think about how to communicate that across campus a little bit, or you're sort of selling it amongst your colleagues across campus, is that you're not giving up the net tuition per se here, right? Because you're actually only paying for the LRAP if the student does decide to borrow. So the students, these 26 that enrolled, I think one or two of those students actually decided not to borrow, I think, and so that sort of comes off of it. But we enrolled those students, and we know that in the surveys that this made a difference for students. And for me, when thinking about ROI, it's very clear to draw those distinctions about what made a difference and what didn't. And I would say that's probably the main reason why we've stuck with primarily a cold admit appeal strategy, is because it's very clear for us to be able to say, okay, this made a difference. And I know some partners will apply LRAPs broadly to their entire class. And we weren't in a position to be able to do that. And so I needed to be able to clearly say, these are the people who only came because of an LRAP or because of LRAP and the ability to major in this and play a sport or whatever. And I can draw those clear lines. So again, it was a big year for us. And certainly the LRAPs were a major factor in that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and to your point with the results and the ROI, that's such a huge point that we always try to drive home of. There's no silver bullet in admissions, right? If there were, we'd all be doing it.
Right.
So, but the coolest part is for 35% of these LRAP students, this was the silver bullet, which is awesome. And then, the majority, if not all, would say it was a huge deciding factor. It was part of that. And so we're only even reporting here on that silver bullet side, which is crazy. So that's what we love about it. So yeah,
right.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned it, I'll mention it too, but we all know the FAFSA has been an adventure this year. How has your campus handled the late launch and the data delays in general?
Yeah. So we started communicating with families back in the fall, both our current students and our prospective students, about what we knew at the time, what to expect. And for our current students, we were communicating with them about the key changes in the FAFSA, how it might affect not only their process and the mechanics of filing the FAFSA, but also potential formulary changes that could impact them directly, not on a one-to-one basis, but we're doing that sort of as public service announcement sort of thing. So we did emails, we did some videos, sort of to kind of explain a few of those things. And then we've really just had a strategy of what I would call over communication. You know, here's what we know, here's what you can expect from Illinois College. Here's what we know, and here's what we're doing to address this from our end. And so been very transparent with all of our campus partners, people in student life, you know, as it affects retention of current students, certainly our cabinet as we are doing budget planning for the next year and how the class is shaping up, all those things. We were able to do so estimated offers for students going back to you know, really the end of February. We were providing estimates for families who were able to provide us with either an SAI, as flawed as it might have been, or you know, had done an SAI calculator for us, you know, through some other form, and been able to do that. For the fall 23 class, we had made it a commitment as an institution to meet 100% of financial need for Illinois students, and a large percentage of our students come from Illinois. So that was a strategic move about transparency of costs, as well as, you know, our commitment to, you know, the value of what we do and what we do to sort of invest alongside them. And what that did was it gave us a year lead up to this sort of debacle that we have, which is we were able to make commitments to students pretty early on about what their financial aid was going to look like, because we were already assured them that, hey, you know, you can be assured that you meet these criteria, we're going to meet 100% of your need. And here's what that looks like if you have an SAI that looks like this or that. So we were able to do scenarios for people and all of that. And consequently, you know, we've seen that we've had people still depositing. We're actually running ahead on deposits yet for this fall 24 class. So, you know, very encouraged by the way the class is shaping up in spite of, you know, all of the challenges. You know, we expect to have our first financial aid offers out later this week, as we've been able to, you know, get things prepared and ready. But many of these families will have already heard from us in some form, and this will hopefully just be confirming some of the things that they already know. So we don't have a silver bullet there either, and I know that it's chaos. But and who knows what will change between now and the end of the week even, right? You know, over communicating and kind of, you know, demonstrating what Illinois College's response has been, you know, a key part to how we've approached it.
That's awesome. Love it. We're almost through it, I hope. I don't want to jinx it though. Now, could you walk us through real quick, just what are the benefits of using an LRAP and working, mainly like working with Ardeo? What are those main benefits? Why is it worth it in your opinion?
Yeah, you know, the Ardeo staff have been terrific. You know, this is one of those rare products where the implementation time is like days, not weeks or months, right? And so it can be used, it's so flexible, you can use it in so many different ways, which is what I like, because so many times, you know, we as enrollment managers don't have something that we can deploy quite so quickly to make an immediate impact. And so that's one of the things that I like about it. We've kind of worked our communication strategy around it a little bit to where we have some things that go out about the LRAP prior to when Ardeo communicates about the LRAP offer, and they work hand in glove. And you know, again, the response time's been great. They are there to answer the phone when students have questions, and you know, Holland and her colleagues have been great about, you know, strategy ideas and those types of things. So one of the things that I really like about it is that Ardeo staff are generally practitioners, former practitioners. You know, they've been in our seats in some form or fashion, and you know, I think that really helps. So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. What advice do you have for a college or university considering LRAPs?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think it's really highly customizable to your needs, and meaning not only in strategy, but also in some of the size of the lists that you send, right? You can do something that's, you know, highly targeted and in small groups. I would also say that as great as this offer is, don't be surprised if not lots and lots of people take you up on it right away, right? So you might need a bigger list than what you think you need to get to your goal, right? So don't be too scared about the size of your list, because the worst thing that can happen, I suppose, is you get more net tuition revenue because the student enrolls, right? So, you know, I would just say, it's one of those rare products that you can implement right away. It's highly customizable, and you can use it and test things out before you have to make major commitments to large-scale strategies.
Oh, beautifully said. I love it. Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to kick it back over to Jessica here and see what questions you guys may have if we have time.
Thanks, Holland. And just like to encourage folks at this time, I know we're running a little short on time right now, but if you do have questions, please ask those in our question box and we'll get those answered for you. So first question, Holland, I think this one's for you. How long does it take to get an LRAP up and working on a campus? I know, Evan, you touched on that briefly. Holland, can you walk us through that briefly, please?
Yeah, so how long does it take to get it up? Yeah, Evan said it perfectly. We can really do it in a matter of days. So once a client, it really depends upon the stage, right? So each year it gets easier and easier because we know that process. But once a client signs an agreement, we're able to actually get everything set up on our end within a day or two. And then the client, really the biggest part is just the client getting that list together. So depending upon the CRM and deciding upon the strategy and all of those types of things, they just usually, if their CRM is great, just get a query out of there, send it over, and upload it right to our portal. And we start making offers within, we say within up to 4 days. It could take us to start actually getting the emails and the comm flows going, but our team's a little on top of it, a little too on top of it sometimes, and they like to get it out right away. So I've seen it go out within a couple hours. But yeah, it's super exciting to be able to see it transition so fast. And yeah, somebody who has been in that seat before, it's very rare that you can just, oh, you just want a list, here you go, and it starts happening, all the magic starts happening.
Thank you so much, Holland. Evan, I think this one's for you, and you did briefly touch on this as well, but how did you get and how do you maintain that buy-in on campus for LRAPs?
Yeah, you know, I think again, it goes to identifying your strategy, making sure that there is a strategy alongside of it, and being able to demonstrate the results. And so, you know, for us, again, it's about re-engaging people that have gone cold. We generally have a very generous application and admit pool. We have a harder time getting students to come to campus, to make commitments and things like that, which is why we spend a lot of time trying to get people, you know, re-engaged. So, you know, we communicate these strategies, it's in our plans, we, you know, report on it regularly, you know, as we do, you know, year-end reviews and things of what strategies worked and what, you know, what didn't. We're always making sure that LRAP is out there as a strategy that, you know, for us, it's you know, it's worked. So making sure people know that, you know, again, over communication, I think, and making sure that you say you're going to do something, you do it, and you can demonstrate how it worked or didn't.
And we did have a question come through, and this can be for either Holland or Evan. What are some things that you consider when it comes to LRAPs, pros and cons, especially with new incoming students who you're worried might not be successful at your institution?
Let me make sure I understand the question. So the question is about if there are concerns about the student being successful on the campus. Yeah, you know, I mean, for us, we're really focused on admitted students, I think. And so for us, our philosophy as an institution is to meet the student where they are if we admitted them. Not that we're open admission, but if we've made that decision to admit them, we're going to give them all the resources that we can to you know, to be successful. I'm sure everybody feels similarly, right? But we also want to make sure they have all the financial support that they need to, you know, be successful and be able to stick around as well. So I wouldn't give an LRAP to somebody that I knew isn't going to be successful at Illinois College, because if I knew that, I probably wouldn't have admitted them to begin with, right? So, for me, it's more about retention. I'm thinking about retention from the financial side for these students, and if I know a student is going to have to really stretch to make it happen for them for 4 years, an LRAP might be a good incentive, right? Because they're not going to be able to transfer that LRAP somewhere else. And we're not trying to incentivize unwise borrowing practices, right? That's not what this is about. But it is giving them the confidence to just keep going, just another year, so that at the end you've got a little bit of assurance there.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. That's perfectly said. Especially, I mean, it goes on all fronts. Even if you're sending inquiries or applicants or whatever part of the pool they're sending, really it's the acceptance process and making sure that's the main thing. But one thing I love about LRAPs, to add to that, is that LRAPs can help shape your class for the right fit students, like getting those right fit, especially if you have pain points. That's, Evan's talked a lot about the different strategies. That's the best part. It can change year to year. It can change in the middle of the year if something crazy is happening that we'd never experienced before. Strategies can change with LRAP, and that's the flexibility part. But it allows you, if you're targeting certain groups where you want more of that certain group and you're sending us that entire funnel of that targeted group, you're helping to shape the class how you want. So it's actually helping to shape the different demographics and students and type of students that you're wanting, right? So if you're down in something where you want to help with, we want to help raise that, we can help with those enrollment benefits as well, enrollment yield there.
Yep.
Much for that. We do have one more quick question, Holland. This is for you, and then I promise I think we should be good there. Thank you all so much for sticking with us. Holland, can you tell us a little bit about what is the college responsible for once a student graduates?
It's pretty easy. This will be a fast one. Not much, if anything. So once a student actually graduates, they are, other than really there is nothing, we take over everything. We are paying the student, we're communicating with the student, and we're making sure that they are getting the help they need should they need it. There's a portal that the students can sign in and create so that they're getting their assistance and they're able to upload their documents and those types of things. So it's absolutely nothing, honestly. And even before they graduate, while they're students, it's also pretty close to nothing. I think once a semester they will send us saying, hey, are they borrowing or not? So we know to charge you or not, because we don't want to charge you if they decided not to borrow that semester. And so it's really an easy process. Our goal is to be one of the easiest, if not the easiest campus partner that you're working with.
Thank you so much. That's all the questions we have for today, and I'll send that back to you, Holland.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Evan, so much for all of your time today.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.